In this video I'm going to teach you how to work with pictures in Microsoft Word 2007. Pictures can be added into your document from the Insert tab using this button here, which will allow you to select a picture from your local computer. You can also use Clip Art, which will allow you to select a picture from Microsoft Office Online. So there's a bunch of different royalty-free pictures here. Once a picture has been inserted, like this one here, there's different things you can do by right-clicking on it. You can cut, copy and paste to move it to different places. You can't really edit pictures unless they're more shapes or smart art or other kinds of illustrations, because all of these work fairly similarly. You can change a picture, so if you have a picture like this that is put it in by default, it isn't really relevant to your document, click Change Picture, select a new picture from your computer and select Insert. And there's your new picture. Now if you look here, you notice this is actually a picture that I've got out of the Microsoft Clip Art gallery. And what I did was I actually saved a copy of it using Microsoft PowerPoint onto my local computer so that I could then insert using this technique, because I find it quite sneaky. If I right click, you have options here for Bring to Front and Send to Back. Now these are really useful when you have things like pictures and shapes like I have in the background here, because this changes what your users can see on the document. So if I select Send to Back, this picture now gets moved to the back of my document, and the shape that's here, this green thing, is now in front of it. If I right click again and go Bring to Front, it brings it back to the front again. You can also use options called Bring Forward and Send Backward, which don't send it all the way to the back or all the way to the front if you have 3 or more options on your page. You can also insert hyperlinks from pictures to take you, say, to a web page or a different place in your document. You can insert a caption, which just puts a little text box underneath your document. And you can change the text wrapping. Now, I might just move down your document to show you how this works. Say here I've got some text, and I set a picture in front of this text. And I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. I can do this using the size panel. What you'll find is when you open a new picture, you insert a picture, automatically you'll get this new Format tab on the ribbon where you can do a bunch of different things. So if I want to change the size, I'll just say the width, I want to make this 2 centimeters, hit enter, and that automatically resizes my picture. We'll come back to that later on. Now if you notice here, I've got my picture and then the text starts straight away after that picture. If I want to change the text wrapping, what that's going to do is change it so that I have the picture and then the text is nicely lined up on it, so it just sort of fits better into my document. There's a bunch of different kinds of text wrapping here. You've got tight, which is a little bit closer, behind text in front of text. So I've selected behind text, you'll see the text goes on top of the picture, and top and bottom and follow through. So it's just different ways of positioning things. And more layout options is going to open up an extra panel where you can specifically add things to the page and change your text wrapping. Now when you've got this picture format tab and you change your text wrapping to something like square, you can then use this align button to align the picture on different positions on the page, so you can automatically align to the right, the center, the top, the middle or the bottom of the page, align to the margin or align to the edge of the page itself. You've also got this view grid lines. If you wanted to position pictures, you can view that and use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move pictures, and you can also drag around the screen. Those are going to get very irritating very quickly, so I'll just turn those off. What else have we got here? You can rotate pictures using this button here. So you can see that just rotates. You can also do that using this little green icon that you have on the top of the picture, so you can manually rotate things. Of course that gets a little bit tricky if you don't get it dead on center. If you want to resize the picture, you can use these little circles at the corners. You can also use these square pointers, but the problem with these is that they distort your picture. So you'll see if I do this, it's horribly distorted, which gets really annoying. So if you want to keep the proportions of your picture as you're resizing, use the corners, because that will keep it a nice size. You can also manually customize this by clicking the little expansion arrow in the size section. So you can change your height and your width. You can also change the scale, which is what I tend to do. You notice here the height is 10% of what it was originally and the width is 12%. I'm going to untick lock aspect ratio. What this does is it allows me to change just one of these figures on its own, but not the other one. So in contrast, if I tick that on and I make this 24%, that is automatically going to change the width 24% as well. The other option you've got through this little size window is you can crop your picture. So for example, if I decided that I didn't really want the bit at the bottom of the picture, just this empty space, I could go from the bottom. I want to take about 2 centimeters. And what you should find when I close this, okay, that didn't want to work. There you can just see it was cropping a little bit more from the bottom. So let's make that a bit more obvious. Let's go 8 centimeters. And you can see that's taking out the gap there. What else can we do here? I'm just going to tidy up the alignment again because I like that nicely lined up with the border. Okay, moving back left along the options, we have picture styles, which is a new feature for Word 2007, and this is pretty cool. You can click these different options and you can have things like reflections, fancy borders, all sorts of different options, shadows, so just making your pictures look a little bit more professional. When you do that, you can then go and do things like adding a shape to your picture. So say if I wanted to put a nice sort of rounded rectangle shape, you'll see that's cut out a bit at the edge. I can customize the border by changing the color or the weight, depending on what kind of border I've used. So if I did this one, I can make it blue. And I can add effects. So there's some preset options here, so you can get some nice sort of corner rounding and shading and different things. You can add a glow. This is pretty cool. So you see they've got that glow around the edge. Lots of different options. Bevel. Gives you kind of a little border around the edge. You can't really see it very much. 3D rotation, so it sort of rotates your picture on an angle. Hey, there's the bevel, now you can see it. So lots of different options here, and every one of these options in the drop down list, when you get to the bottom of the list, there'll be sort of an additional options, so say 3D options where you can access even more information. So there's many different options that you can use here. It's very cool. You can spend hours messing around with your pictures. The last section in picture format over here is things like brightness. Actually, I might just take off the 3D rotation on that because that's going to get really annoying. So brightness is just sort of changing how bright your picture is. So you can see that's made a fairly significant difference. Contrast. So the contrast between the black and the white, so you can change your picture quite significantly using that. Recolor. I like this sometimes. If you want to choose a black and white picture or a particular shading, you can do that. You can compress pictures. I do this a lot. This is if you've cropped bits of your picture so you're not really using them anymore. Even though they're not visible in your document, they're still taking up file space. So it's a really good idea to reduce your file size to come and apply compression to all of the pictures in your document. And if you click options, there's extra options about what sort of quality you want your pictures to be. So usually you do 220 pixels per inch. But if you were doing something that was only ever going to be visible online like this, you might want to select screen, which would compress even more. So just save extra file size. So that's a really good option. Change picture, that's that same option we got through the right click menu where you can go and change the picture to something else. And reset picture is just going to get rid of all of these fancy things that we've done to the picture the entire way through. So it just defaults back to what it was originally. And that's the basics of how to work with pictures in Word 2007.